Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Good Enough Human podcast. My name's Antonia Jones, and I'm delighted you could join me today as we chat about the highs and lows of single and co-parenting. I've been parenting solo for almost 3 years now, and the journey to this point has been quite challenging but also hugely rewarding as my son, who's now 6, and I have settled into a new way of life and I'm really loving it. But parenting, whether you're on your own or with a partner, is not an easy job. It's also been extremely difficult in recent months through the pandemic, with most of us having to work as well as homeschool. So on this podcast, Angela and Sarah, who are also single parents, join me to offer up our top tips for those of you just starting on your single parenting journey. We hope you find it useful, but most importantly, we'd like you to remember to go easy on yourself. We know you can do this. So, do you think there's a distinction between being a single parent and co-parenting? Because my ex-husband is very much like, you're not a single parent, you're co-parenting with me. And I do agree that there is another parent in the picture. So I'm not totally a single parent, but I feel that when I'm alone in the home, when my son goes to bed, I'm a single parent. I can't go out there's been times where I've needed to get essential items, but he's been in bed, so I've not been able to go out. When he's ill of a night time or in the day, I'm practically a single parent in that respect. So do you think there's a differential between the two, or?
I see what you mean, and I really feel for parents and carers whose, sadly they may be widows or widowers, or the father or mother isn't in the picture, the other parent or carer, and I think fair play to them. They just haven't got that support at any point of, I need a breather this weekend, let's see if their father can have them for a few hours or can help with, I don't know, medical appointments, school runs. But we are single parents, we do a heck of a lot, and it's all on our shoulders, isn't it, at times? And do you feel that?
Yes, because when you have them, you are responsible for the homework, you are responsible for making sure everything goes like clockwork, and you've got to fit it in with your life. Exactly. So I think when you're on your own looking after a child, even if they do have a parent in another household, I think you're still considered a single parent.
Yeah, because we have this ongoing discussion when I say, single parent, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, you're a co-parent. We co-parent. And yeah, we indeed co-parent. My son splits his time between my house and his dad's house. But like Sarah just mentioned, that when my son is with me or his dad, we are single parenting, aren't we? So
absolutely. If anything happens in the night, if he wakes up or they've hurt themselves, it's down to us, isn't it? If they are in the house with us at that time, and you do feel the responsibility.
People have different support systems as well. I mean, some people will have grandparents next door, some people won't. When I first moved to Chester, I really was a single parent. I had a child of 2 and 5. And my brother, the only person I knew in Chester was my brother, who also had a young family. But it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying, because I thought, if something happens to me, no one will know.
Gosh.
If I have an accident, I've got these 2 young kids, there's no one around. So you do feel that sense of anxiety, don't you, and responsibility.
Definitely. I mean, when I was ill last week, my parents are around the corner, but with what's going on in the world with the pandemic, they've not been able to look after my son as much. But when I was ill, the anxiety, because I felt like if I was ill in the night and I'd have to rush to hospital, or, I kind of was getting a bit panicky thinking about that. But, you just don't know if you I couldn't move out of bed because I was, extremely lethargic and I had flu. But I just thought, if there's an emergency, what would I do? And you do get anxious about that.
Yeah, definitely. You do feel the pressure at times, don't you, about if anything were to happen like that, but you just have to make the best of it. I can remember, it's not anywhere near the same level. Looking back, it was all a bit bonkers, but when our pet cat collapsed and died one day, and it was just me and the girls in the house, and something just clicked in my brain, just went into sort of like, right, let's just do this, do what we can mode. Phone mum and dad. They drove over, ready to help me take the cat to the vets. I was looking after the girls. We were all doing bits and pieces, working as a team, and we somehow coped. And I know it's nowhere near the same.
Flight kind of.
Something kicks in, and you know that, you can. Yes, you can is something that sticks with me, which is, it sounds a bit cheesy, but I've got a little thing on my wall, a little heart that says, yes, you can. And every now and again I look at it, and especially, I've been through stages over the past year where I've been trying to study at uni as well as teaching and being a single parent, and there are moments where I thought, oh gosh, can I keep doing this? And I've seen that, and as cheesy as it sounds, it really helped me. And I was thinking that that's one of the things I wanted us to talk about today, that sort of, for anyone possibly who's maybe just becoming a single parent, or is quite new to it still, or is having a really tough time at the moment, just to try for us to chat. And hopefully if you're listening to this today and you take one thing away from it and think, oh gosh, yes, that they're coping with it, this is how they've taken their journey, and that's inspiring, or maybe I could do it like that, then I'll be really chuffed.
Yeah, and go easy on yourself as well, because I think that's something that I've kind of not done I've been separated for 3 years now, and I think at the start there was a lot of guilt around my son being from a separated family, from a single parent household, and just that, am I overcompensating because he's in a single parent household, and then trying to compensate for things. So, go easy on yourself. And also something that I've learned over the past kind of 18 months is to take care of yourself, because I think if you're not in, a place where you're strong and healthy, you can't be that support system or pillar of strength for your child, really. So I've been really at times burnt out by working full time and doing things around the house and looking after a toddler with a support network, but it still burns you out. So I think I've just taken a step back, and like our podcast name, The Good Enough Human, just don't worry about everything, trying to do everything and have that picture perfect lifestyle. You are enough.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's another phrase that comes to mind that I spotted on the BBC News website about how to cope with, coronavirus, and it applies equally. One of the things that stuck in my mind was the phrase, do it badly. Because, I put myself under pressure as well too. If I'm going to do something, I've got to do it properly. I've got to do it to such a degree. Whereas this encourages you to, okay, I'm going to do some tidying today. I'm just going to do what I can and not put myself under pressure to have a pristine looking living room at the end of the day. Do it badly. And it works. It might sound a bit silly, but it kind of takes the pressure off, that you just do it, just get it done, instead of thinking, oh, I can't do it, I'm going to procrastinate and put it off because I can't do it as perfectly as I want to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm a bit the opposite. I like to just do everything, do lots of things, but I don't need to do them like with perfection. So I'd quickly clean the house, and as long as it's, quickly do the jobs I need to do. So I'm quantity rather than quality, really. I don't know what kind of the best situation is with that. But yeah, I think taking care of yourself, recharging. We all need time out, don't we? And that's regardless whether we're a single parent.
I don't know if you've noticed, obviously, because you've got a very young boy, but when I had young children, it's adult conversation as well. If you're on your own with a child, you really crave sort of someone just to have a normal conversation with.
Yeah, yes. And especially through lockdown. So, I'd go into work usually, and we'd have that, that time in the morning where we'd all chat about what we watched the night before, and then lunchtime we'd go for, if we had time for lunch, we'd go for a walk round to the shop or the canteen. So it's that interaction. Whereas now, working from home, it's been quite isolating. And you're talking to people on Zoom all the time and Teams, but it's a lot different to seeing them physically.
Yeah, it's not the same, is it? It tides us over, but I think as well that this sort of third lockdown, we really have got to the stage, haven't we, where through the winter as well, we have all had enough. We are ready to see some light at the end of the tunnel, which is coming, and it's brilliant. You know, spring, feels like spring has sprung outside, spring flowers, nights are drawing out. I don't know about you two, but I'm starting to feel a bit better because of that, and knowing that things are going to start to be eased and we can start to see more people outdoors. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, really, really pleased about that. And the sun shining these past couple of days just lifts the mood, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. And I'd be interested to know what you two think as well. Whether it's just me getting middle-aged, seriously middle-aged. I've got so into nature as a form of therapy, even just sticking my head out the back door in the morning before I start work, listening to a blackbird. Cheesy as that sounds, it's quite therapeutic. Do you do anything like that?
More recently, yeah, I think since lockdown, like podcasts I've been listening to and like spirituality, but things that I've been reading on the internet, they say connect with nature because it's really important to go back to the roots, and it awakens that kind of, I don't know, that feeling inside you that you feel alive again. So yeah, I've been trying. I know it sounds really really crazy, but yeah, I've been trying to do that, getting out in nature, enjoying walks in the country, because I'm lucky to be in a part of Wales that is very green and open. So yeah, appreciating the outdoors more.
Yeah, we're so blessed, aren't we, with all the lovely countryside, or near me there's a nice park that I can just walk a few circuits of, and yeah. What about you, Sarah? You've got some lovely countryside near you, haven't you?
I do, but do you know, I am obviously the exact opposite of the both of you. I mean, I do go for a walk nearly every day, but I almost see it as a chore because I can't do anything else. I actually loved it when I used to go to the gym because it would motivate me and I would see other people for the classes. And now, you know, it's the same boring walk, really, because you can't get in a car and go up Malfama or somewhere. I mean, we're on the border of Wales, lovely walk. I mean, yes, I am very blessed and lucky. I live in a beautiful area and it is green around me, but I've done that same walk a lot. And I'm finding it really difficult. I find the whole of lockdown difficult. I mean, I think the most important thing for all of us is to have a really great support system with family and friends, because, you know, I was thinking about that, especially as a single parent, and I have been through that. You have to do everything. I mean, I feel a bit like that because my mum leads a lot of care now as well. So you know, although my children are older, I've still got someone to care for. But, you know, I'm just thinking of all the emergencies that keep happening, you know, the car stops. We've had so many. I've had a leaking pipe.
Oh, gosh.
You know, I mean, and like you said, your son had to be rushed to the hospital. I find in lockdown that's really hard. You know, every time something goes wrong, I almost wish that there was someone else.
Yeah,
you know, when you have a partner or a husband and you can say to them, help, what do I do? But when you're on your own, you can't do that. You're on your own. There isn't anyone around. At least that's how I feel, that you can sort of call upon.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure that I feel when that happens. Like you mentioned, when my son was taken to hospital after falling off his scooter yesterday, it was quite scary because I was like trying to calm him down, trying to get him in the car. You know, if you had another person there, another partner, you'd say, you know, accompany me, and you know, while you keep him calm in the back, I'd be driving. So yeah. But I guess
you have to be the perfect person in a way. You've got to keep it all together. And sometimes it's so hard to do that. And I'm one of these people, going for a walk doesn't help me.
No.
I don't know.
I think it's different things, isn't it, for different people? And I know, Sarah, that you have a great penchant for quilting, which I admire hugely. That sounds hugely therapeutic. I wish I could do that.
only since lockdown.
Why not? What a productive, wonderful thing of mind.
Yeah, I suppose if everyone can find something like that, whether it's sewing or painting or writing or walking, something that just gives them something to take their mind off things, to focus on something else.
Yeah.
It is. I guess that must be my therapy. You're right, Angela. I do quilting.
Yeah. That's cool. It's whatever works for you, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I am a bit sick of it, though, to be honest with you. I'm on my 5th quilt now, and I don't want to make any more quilts ever again. Never.
It's like a production line. What was I going to say? Yeah, something that occurred to me is, and when I was making a note and thinking about, oh, what would I share if I were to go back in time and to talk to myself as a newly single parent, maybe panicking, thinking, oh, can I do this? Can I do this? And one of the big takeaways for me would be to pat myself on the back more. I remember it
Definitely.
being, yeah, I remember it being described to me as, when your children have certain achievements in life, and if they spend a lot of the time with you, then you should take a bigger percentage of the credit for it, and you should be
Yeah.
really proud. And we're our own worst enemies at times, aren't we? And beating ourselves up about things. Oh, I should do this and I should do that. Where maybe turning it around and much more patting ourselves on the back, which maybe we don't get enough as adults, and certainly as single parents and carers, perhaps.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because when I first met you, Andrew, that's one of the things that we spoke about, and how, value being a single parent and turn it round, and, look at those achievements you've got through, and with your children when they achieve things and their growth and development, and look at it as a pat on the back for yourself and think, wow, I've achieved all this. So, yeah, 'cause sometimes we dwell on all the negatives and all the bad things about being a single parent, but it'd be interesting to hear, Sarah, because you're a little bit further along the journey than I am. Obviously, my son's only 6 and your children are grown up now. How did you cope?
I remember my mum giving me some brilliant advice when I was really agonizing, because I had I had a baby, and when I divorced, I separated and divorced when my second daughter was literally a baby, literally. And I had another one who was like 3, and I had to go back and train and get a job. I mean, I had to. And that meant I was gone all day practically. And I said I remember crying because I was trying to breastfeed this baby. And I said, I feel so guilty because I should be with my baby. But, I was living with my parents at the time. I moved back home. And my mum said to me, and I've never forgotten this, she said, your daughter is with people who love her and you love her. You have to go out and get a job and get qualifications. And you know what? When she's older, she's going to appreciate the fact that her mum has a job and is bringing in an income. And she was like, she's not going to remember this apart from the fact that she's loved. Wow. And she was so right,
That's amazing.
And it stopped me feeling guilty. I suddenly realized, she's right. But you do need a very good support system. You have to have family or someone. You can't do. I don't think you can be a single parent on your own. I think it's too hard. So
yeah, even if you haven't got someone who lives nearby and you think, oh gosh, who can I turn to? There are some amazing local community organisations. There are some national charities like Gingerbread that are worth making contact with, and they do have helplines.
Yeah, really good
support.
Gingerbread.
Yeah, superb advice there. So,
and Facebook groups as well. There's a lot of single parent Facebook groups, and like you mentioned, if you've not got that immediate support network with family and friends locally, you can reach out to people on these groups like Gingerbread and Facebook. And sometimes if they're not around the corner, it's good to just to speak to someone going through the same thing, and just to have a chat.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing as well. That's a lesson that it's taken me many, many years to learn. Don't bottle things up.
Yeah, and don't feel afraid to lean on others either.
Yeah. Express your feelings. Don't keep them bottled up, because that's when it's going to, fester away potentially. Even if it's venting to someone via a Facebook group who perhaps you don't know as well, that might be easier for you to just, a problem shared is a problem halved, is the old cliched phrase, but it's so true. And to get that off your chest and, look, I feel really angry today, or I've had a really bad day. And just knowing that you've got that safe space to get that off your chest and feel better. Yeah.
Would you say, Sarah, that it gets easier in time? Because I've been doing it for 3 years now, and it does feel like it's got easier. The key thing for me was to establish a routine. And
yes, I think that's essential, especially in lockdown, keeping to a routine.
Yeah, to have that structure. So he has set days where he goes to his father's, and so in terms of handing them over to the other parent, I know that sounds awful, handing them over, but just like sharing that contact, that was a real struggle for me at first. you know, letting them go to the other parent who, you know, loves them and will care for them, but it's letting your baby go, isn't it? So I think that was a
It's
struggle for
the
me.
hardest thing. Oh my God, to be the better person and not all the bitterness or anger you have inside, keeping it, well, in my case, a lot of people's case, I'm sure, keeping that inside and not passing it on to your child. And it's the greatest gift you can give your child, but it's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. Then when they go, it's that kind of void, and you think, what am I going to do with myself? And, you know, I used to, sometimes, I'm not scared to admit it, I used to just cry when he'd go, and I'd be like, what am I going to do? And I wonder where he was and what he was doing. So I did used to beat myself up a lot, but then I turned it on its head and I thought, you know, use this opportunity to have time for myself, connect with friends and do something for myself. And I'm at the 3-year stage now, and I know it's going to sound awful, but I like it when my son goes to his dad's, because I do have a bit of free time, and I just think, oh wow, I can relax a bit, because it is quite intense.
Yeah, absolutely. And you deserve that. We all need that time off, don't we?
I know when yours go on a Friday, Angela, you have a bit of breathing space, and it sounds horrible that you're dying for them to go at that point, but you know, I never thought I'd get to that stage though, because in the early stage I was like, I can't be without you, I've never been a night without you, and
felt wrong, it felt odd, and it's kind of it's building a new normal, isn't it, and adjusting and adapting to that.
Definitely.
And like you say, it gets to a point where you think, oh, I can have a breather, I can go catch up with my mates over coffee, I could have a night out, go to the cinema, do what the heck I want, slob out for the day.
Exactly.
You know, I never had that. I never had that. No, because I left countries. I moved from Singapore back to the UK, and their father was back there in Singapore. Gosh. So it was very intense. I never had a break. And that is, I think I'm glad that you appreciate it, because if you never have a chance, I mean, I'm lucky. I don't regret it for a second. It was great. And I never got to sort of cry when they left to go to their dads, put it that way. So it was different.
That's a different ball game, isn't it? Fair play to you. That's
So you're working full time and two.
No, I could never do it full time. I worked full time for a while. Then when I moved here, I was part time, and I gradually, as they got older, worked full time. I did end up working full time in the end, yes. So I was lucky. Because I lived with my parents. I don't think I could have done it living alone. Hats off to you and anyone who does it on their own. I really admire you, but I actually moved home, and I didn't mind at all living with my mum. I still live with my mum. So
that's lovely.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, my parents are less than a mile away from me, so I'm really lucky in that respect. But obviously, like I said, with lockdown, it's been harder for me to see them because they're quite elderly. But yeah, I think another worry that I've spoke to you, Angela, about is whether, you know, having that separation and being that single parent, whether it's going to affect children long term. And I think we all have that in our minds. But Sarah, I think your children are.
I'm shaking my head. No, as long as your child's loved by both, it's fine. And it's almost the norm. There are so many families like this nowadays that our children just take it all in their stride.
Yes.
I mean, my daughters love their father dearly, and they see him regularly, and they've always had that relationship with him. It never died. They just didn't, see him as often when they were very young, but he wasn't really good with young kids anyway. But now they absolutely have a fabulous relationship with him. So it does get easier, because they can choose. And there'll come a time when your son will decide who he wants to be with or what he wants to do. He'll be his own person anyway.
I think, Angela, what we've said before as well, the hard thing about sharing them on, and key dates like Christmas Day, birthdays, and that's a struggle for me.
Yes.
My son's birthday's just been, and we split the day. Christmas Day, we split the day, and you think that your child's being pulled from pillar to post, but you want to be fair to both parents and to make sure that they see both parents. But it is tough, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's the thing at times like that, trying to think, well, what's the best thing for them? Are they happy? And as they adapt and adjust, they love it, and they're spending time with both parents in different houses, creating memories, and they've got all these other sort of figures and role models in their lives, and I think that's wonderful. I think that's really beneficial for them. So, and it does get easier, doesn't it? There are still days where you feel a bit wobbly, or you can feel a bit down, and I think that's something to sort of accept and just go with. That there will be moments where you might feel a bit fed up, and certainly lockdown has that effect on us, doesn't it, with the isolation. But we know that there are many good times ahead and simple pleasures to sort of enjoy, like, the girls and I at home will plan meals, and we're obsessed with cooking different meals and coming up with meal planners for the week, and we're going to make a Victoria sponge cake, and just lovely little simple pleasures like that formed part of the sort of tapestry of our lives through lockdown. But I think it's brought us so much closer together, another positive.
Yeah, that's really nice. You almost form like that new family unit, don't you?
Yes, that's it. That's what struck me. It was almost like a different bond and a stronger bond, if that makes sense. Really, really close.
Well, enjoy it, because they will leave home. They will go to university, and I feel very jealous, because although I had my oldest daughter for years when she was younger, and she didn't see her dad that often because he was in Singapore, she's now moved to Singapore, and I haven't seen her for nearly 2 years now because of lockdown. And he has her all the time, and I feel really jealous. I'm like, it's not fair, but that's life.
Yeah. How old are your children now, Sarah?
Oh gosh, they're old. My eldest is 29, and then I have a daughter who's 25, and then I have a daughter who's 19 who's just gone to university.
Wow.
So I am truly alone now.
Empty nest. So that's something for the future for us. I can't imagine.
Well, one's flown for you, Angela, hasn't it?
One's already flown to Leeds.
Yes.
And that's the thing, I do miss him, and I know he's quite a way away, and especially with coronavirus, but he's happy, and I think, gosh,
and you're proud of him.
I was going to say, you're so proud of what he's achieved.
Really, we should all be really, really proud, that our children are thriving and achieving so many different things, and it's that huge pat on the back thing, isn't it? We flipping well deserve it.
But you'll never stop missing them. That's the thing. You never will, no matter where they are or how old they are.
Oh,
exactly.
It's not easy parenting, is it? But it's so worth it.
Yeah, it's really rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So when we're tired...
I have a question for you ladies who are your children are homeschooling or were homeschooling. Have you been worried about their mental health? There's been a lot of talk about children's mental health being affected in lockdown. And I wondered if you feel your children have suffered as a result.
I think it's something that we've been very mindful of. And different things work for different children. Some prefer to be in school, which they can be if they're struggling with mental health, and others prefer to work from home. And I think, again, it's not beating ourselves up about that. And, all this talk of, children are going to lose out. No, they're not. They'll make up for it at a later date. When we get through this, we want a summer of play or chilling out for them, and we can make up for it at a later date. The important thing is staying safe and healthy and trying to sort of keep an eye on mental health. But there are different concerns, aren't there, in terms of... Definitely. I think a lot of parents are aware of that, aren't they? The potential impact on mental health of routines going out the window. So I think it's great that some children can, if they have any mental health issues, go into school. Some schools are supporting that, and that can make a difference. It gives them that little bit of a routine, whereas others perfectly happy at home. We're all different, aren't we? We all handle things in different ways, and it's great that we can all work together as parents and carers and school authorities and teachers to do the best for our children, for the next generation, if that answers your question.
Yeah, and I've not been overly concerned about the homeschooling. I mean, he's only 6, but regardless of that, even if he was older, I feel that the most important thing was ensuring that his mental health was okay, and so we've done a lot of crafts and out and about and cycling. So the actual homeschooling hasn't been a priority for me. I mean, in Scandinavia, most children don't go to school until they're around 7 anyway, because they feel that it's more important for them to be out in nature and doing things with their parents. So yeah,
right.
The homeschooling hasn't been. I know friends have been texting me saying, how much homeschooling have you done today? I feel really bad because I've only got through one task sheet sent from the school, and I'm like, I don't really care. He will catch up. He's bright and intelligent, but even if he wasn't, there's resources out there which will support them in school. And yeah, the key thing has been the mental health. With him being so young, it's been difficult for him to connect with his friends. They've had the odd WhatsApp call, but having 4, 5, 6-year-olds on a WhatsApp call was a bit chaotic.
I can imagine.
So yeah, it's just been me and him. But then again, it's not been too dissimilar to what would be, in normal times. It'd be me, him and his dad, but obviously separated, and seeing my parents. So yeah, it has been tough, but I think like the light is coming, isn't it?
It is. School's opening again for the whole school community. We've got dates there, haven't we, for that return to a bit of normality and vaccination being rolled out. So, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of light at the end of the tunnel, which is great to see. And spring is in the air, which is fantastic. That makes me feel a heck of a lot better.
The light nights, yeah, definitely.
Yes, it makes a difference, doesn't it? So we're nearly at the end of our time, ladies. We've covered a lot of ground. I'm sure we could cover a lot more in future. We'll have to reconvene, won't we, and have a regular chat about all sorts of things single parenting related, because I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been very good.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you, Antonia.
Thank you, ladies. It's been really nice. Really great hearing everyone's different perspectives.
Yeah,
we haven't even touched on dating after divorce, have we? That's another topic in it. Oh my goodness. That would be like 5 hours.
I can't wait for that one.
So, Angela, obviously you're a bit further along in the journey than me, having been a single parent for a number of years now. How do you feel that kind of shaped you as a person? Are you a lot different to when you were married and how you were a parent then?
Yeah, that is a really good question, because I was thinking about this and reflecting on it, that if you told me 10 years ago, back in 2011, when my marriage broke down, and I was a single parent of a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old and a 13-year-old, that this would go on for 10 years plus, I'd have run screaming into up a mountain, do a primal scream or something. But do you know what? I've taken it step by step, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There were moments, especially in the early days, where I thought, I can't do this. This is too much. How am I going to cope? But I think reflecting on the great advice that your mum gave to you, Antonia, as well, that we're not the only ones who've been through this. We're not the first. We won't be the last. We can do it. I think I've taken it step by step, and strangely, but very positively, when I reflect back, I think how much I've grown and we've grown as a family unit. And it might sound very dramatic to say, but I feel like within the end of my marriage, certainly, or at some point in my marriage, I kind of lost myself as an individual. I became
a lot of people say that.
A mum, a workmate, a friend, lost myself. And since coming out of the marriage, I've gone on to push myself to do things like get involved in theatre, the Chester Mystery Plays, acting on stage and singing, which...
You've done so much.
If you told me back in 2011, when I was sort of an anxious a bit of a wreck at the time initially, that I wouldn't have believed you, but it's definitely been the making of me, and it's made me more ambitious. I remember my cousin telling me something similar when she came out of a marriage, determined to make something of life and to be a role model for my children. So I've done different things.
Do you think it was like a light bulb moment, or was it a kind of a conscious thing where, I need to do stuff for me now? And how many years was it before you decided, I need to start looking after myself and doing things for me now?
I think it was a gradual thing. And I think similar to you, Antonia, as well, I got to a point where I thought, gosh, I'm a trained journalist, and I haven't really written for years, and I missed that. And there was a creative side of me that part of what I love about journalism is meeting people and finding out about them and spreading the word about good stuff that's going on. And it was reconnecting with that I found really therapeutic and powerful. I think we've got that in common, haven't we?
It does take time though, doesn't it? Because like I've said to you previously, I lost my mojo for writing and reading, which I'm really passionate about both. But when you're in that low place and when you've got so much going on, you feel like, I just didn't want to do either of those things. And it does take time, doesn't it?
Oh gosh, don't get me wrong. There are times still, I think we all go through that, don't we? Especially with everything we've been through with lockdown, where you just think, oh, I just can't do that. Just put that away in a box and I'll maybe come back to that. Mojo completely gone. And then before you know it, it'll come back. Or a trick that I've learned, which I try and encourage myself with now, if I am feeling a bit, I'm just not inspired, where do I start? I just think, right, open the computer. Don't stare at a blank screen. Get a few words down or start editing. And before you know it, you feel more motivated, and it's
you do.
Tricks and tips that we've learned over the years, and it's definitely made a difference, and I think helped make me a more rounded, happier mother, friend, daughter, individual, which is at the heart of it, isn't it? So have you found similar in your journey so far, Antonia, turning the tables on you?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm finally realizing that, there's more to life than, being a parent and a work colleague. And I do feel that now I'm, doing things for myself. And sometimes you get to the point where you think, am I being selfish? Because there's friends of mine that aren't single parents, so they're, with their children all the time. But I do think once you get that moment of freedom when they go to their other parent, you do get that kind of feeling that I need to do something for myself. Otherwise, you'll just be sitting in the house alone and doing nothing. So I feel really good at the moment. I'm getting back into my writing, doing some short courses alongside work, and also obviously the podcasting helps as well. So yeah, it's like you said, it's finding yourself. And not even, through divorce. I think generally as you're so busy working full time and, in a stressful job, and then with lockdown, you tend to just forget about yourself and what you love and things like that. Well, I did, and I do. So, it's just trying to find your mojo again, really.
Definitely is, and we touched on that in the first item in our podcast, didn't we, where we talked about even something as simple as going out for a walk or going in the garden, getting some sunshine, looking at, I don't know, a bee buzzing around or flowers or daffodils. It all helps, doesn't it? It's all part of our coping mechanism.
Yeah, and I think as things open up again, I don't know how people feel about that. I've had mixed kind of views on. Some people are saying, I'm quite scared for things to open up again because I like to be in my cocoon. I like that insular life now because we're used to it.
Me too.
Yeah, and I feel in some respects I am as well. And I'm a bit scared to go out again into the real world, so to speak, into the normal world that like we knew it. But I think once things start opening and we start having that physical contact with people again, which I think we're craving, I think times will be a lot better for everyone, really. It's great chatting to people in the virtual space, but it doesn't beat that face-to-face interaction, does it?
No, I know. I think we have reached that stage, haven't we, where, I mentioned to you, didn't I, Antonia, about Friday nights now, where it's got to the stage where it's Me and my lovely little cat Holly, and the highlight of our evening, how rock and roll is this, is watching Monty Don, Gardener's World Highlights. And I think, oh, Angela, it's time to start planning and thinking about encouraging yourself and planning ahead and building confidence. But like you, I do feel a bit freaked out by it. And from what I'm reading and hearing people, I think we're not alone in feeling like that. We're kind of in our cocoons, and it will take time, but we'll get there, won't we? And hopefully get out and enjoy the sunshine and the spring and summer as things open up, and that'll all help as well. So
and getting back to things like Storyhouse and Theatre Clwyd, and doing our We Are Chester stuff, which we really love. We missed. I know I do. I miss going to the theatre, and so I'm just really craving that at the moment. I can't wait for a Friday night show at the Storyhouse like we used to go to.
Me too. That's something to look forward to, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
So we've certainly covered a lot of ground, haven't we? And I think, and we're very passionate, aren't we, about sharing what we've learned. As I can't emphasise enough, we're not experts, but sharing, spreading the word about the different points on the journey that we're at in single parenting, and maybe some tips that we've learned along the way, in the hope that it might be helpful to you listening today. We hope that it is. And just to say that if you're listening and you want to get in touch and give us any feedback or any ideas for stuff that we can cover in the future, we'd love to hear from you, because we're very passionate about this. And I think this will be part of, am I right to say, is it fair to say, Antonia, it could be part of a series on aspects of single parenting. So we're really passionate about that. So yeah. And can I just say, totally off topic, but from editing the first part of this podcast, I was very aware that my little cat Holly featured in parts of it. So I would like to apologise retrospectively if you've listened and you thought, oh, what's that strange little meow that I've heard from time to time in the earlier bit of the podcast? And Holly obviously wanted in on the podcasting action. She wants to be a podcast cat. So there you go. That explains it. If you think, what the heck is that weird noise?
We'll be doing Stephen out of a job soon with his music if you've got your cat meowing.
Definitely. Very musical meowing. So, I mean, yeah, we've covered a lot of ground. We can cover some more stuff in the future. Is there anything else that you think we should cover before we wind up?
I think it's just reaching out to others in a similar position, and don't isolate yourself, which we said in the first session of the podcast. Like we've mentioned before, there are various resources out there, for example, Gingerbread and Facebook groups. And I guess the financial side as well, which we didn't touch on. It can be tough being a single parent financially. We're not all as lucky to be able to have that financial security with 2-parent income. So yeah, probably bearing that in mind and looking at ways people can get advice on that. And obviously there's the Citizen Advice Bureau across the region that can offer advice and help on things like benefits and financial things available to you.
That's really good advice, because that was one thing that, looking back, I've never been brilliant at that, but I've got better at simple things, little things like sitting down and doing a budget. I've had to give myself a bit of a talking to at times in the past that, come on, Angela, sit down. I've been really scared of doing a budget and seeing what I've got left to spend, what can I spend on food. But once you've done it, you feel empowered, you feel so much better. And I guess it's all part and parcel of getting that advice. And there's a charity that I used to work for called Family Lives, and they've got a lot of resources as well in terms of parenting and single parenting. And yeah, asking for help and seeing if there is anyone who can support you in terms of childcare, because I know it's not cheap. If you've got family or friends around, then that makes a difference. But it's a big jigsaw, isn't it? And I think it'd be great to cover some parts of this more in depth in future episodes.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough at the moment because you can't, just ask a friend to potentially babysit or a family member. But I know that some other single parents that I know have kind of shared childcare. For example, they pick the children all up from school, and then they'd share it the next time someone else would pick them up from school and then have them for tea. So, but obviously now we can't lean on our friends and family, but soon, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully that's given you some insight into our journey, both Sarah, myself and Antonia. And we hope you've enjoyed that and got something out of it. Please do get in touch if there's anything you want to share with us, anything you think we should cover in the future. We're very passionate about it, and thank you for listening to our journey, and we're proud to share it. So thank you so much. And yeah, that's it for this week.
So as we come to the end of our podcast on single parenting, thank you all so much for listening, and to Sarah and Angela for sharing their experiences on solo parenting. It's always great to chat to people who are in the same boat, to know you're not the only one going through this. As my mum always says, you won't be the first and you definitely won't be the last, so just remember that. I think the key thing is also to remember to be kind to yourself. Take care of yourself and recharge where you can. Don't put too much pressure on yourself or be afraid to lean on others, and also don't isolate yourself. There's plenty of resources out there which you can tap into online and on social media to join groups and organisations to help you along your journey. Also, I think it's important to value being a single parent and everything you achieve and your children achieve, and hats off to all of us juggling so many things at once. Thanks also to Dr. Kenyon Owen for bringing our Good Enough Human podcast to life with his fab music. And also, above all, thank you all for listening. Until the next time, take care of yourself, stay safe, and remember, you've got this.